A reading from the Gospel of John. John was standing with two of his disciples, and as he watched Jesus walk by, he said, "Behold, the Lamb of God." The two disciples heard what he said and followed Jesus. Jesus turned and saw them following him and said to them, "What are you looking for?" They said to him, "Rabbi," which translated means teacher, "where are you staying?" He said to them, "Come, and you will see." So they went and saw where Jesus was staying, and they stayed with him that day. It was about 4 p.m. Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, was one of the two who heard John and followed Jesus. He first found his own brother, Simon, and told him, "We have found the Messiah," which is translated Christ. Then he brought him to Jesus. Jesus looked at him and said, "You are Simon, the son of John. You will be called Cephas," which is translated Peter. Today's gospel talks about the time when 3 of the apostles meet Jesus for the first time and decide to follow him. In this passage, the first 2 who follow Jesus are disciples of John. After meeting Jesus, they immediately leave John behind and follow Jesus instead. Andrew then goes and tells his brother Simon, and he too goes and meets Jesus. When Jesus meets Simon, he changes his name to Peter. It was a new beginning for Simon, as well as the other 2. So, as was quite commonplace in Judaism, Simon takes on a new name. Although this doesn't happen in our society, this practice still happens when a woman becomes a nun. She is forever changed by becoming a disciple of Christ, so she changes her name. For us, although we might not completely change our names, we do pick a new name for ourselves when we recommit ourselves to Christ at our confirmation. When we pick a new name for ourselves, moreover, we are saying that by being a disciple of Jesus, we are completely changed. Although we didn't get to physically be with Jesus like Peter did, we can see how simply being in his presence changed Peter's life. He went from living a normal life to spreading the message of Jesus to the world, eventually leading him to be crucified as well. Yet, because of how much Christ changed him, he didn't feel worthy to be crucified the same way Jesus did. So, as the legend states, he was crucified upside down. He could have had a simple life like any other first-century Jew, but because he chose to follow Jesus, his life was changed forever. Sure, it wasn't easy, and in his case, led to his being martyred. But that was how much of an effect Jesus had on his life. So that's what we can take from this gospel passage. When we fully commit ourselves to Jesus, which for us is made official at our confirmation, our lives are fully changed. Being fully committed to following Jesus isn't easy. It means that we often go against the way the world works. This can lead us to persecution. In addition, following Jesus entails going out and ministering to everyone, whether rich or poor. For the people whom the world rejects, like the terminally ill, the homeless, the poor, the mentally challenged, the disabled, and even the imprisoned, it's our responsibility to minister to them. As Jesus would say, we need to give to every beggar. And why? Because they are people too. So rather than, as the world often does, treat them as less than human, being a disciple of Jesus means giving a voice to the voiceless, putting ourselves in other people's shoes, and treating those who are marginalized by society the way we would want to be treated. In the end, Jesus had such an effect on the first disciples that it left an indelible mark on our lives over 2,000 years later. Against all odds, that poor Jewish peasant changed the world, and even in a way conquered an empire. That is how Jesus changed lives, and that's how we can change other lives as well. So when we start each day, it might be fitting to recommit ourselves to Jesus. We might not change our names, but continually committing ourselves as disciples will not only just change us, but the world as well.